Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday. It's April 28th, 2022. You have found, I'm going to say, the best real estate live stream in the country, maybe even in the world. I mean, that is something. So it might be the only live stream. I'm thinking of it. At least the only daily live stream at 9 a.m. out of St. Louis, Missouri, with a real estate agent as a host, someone that actually goes out and helps buyers buy homes and helps sellers list their homes on a daily basis. It's my job. It's what I do for a living. I mean, if that's not, fascinating, I don't know what is. I really don't. We're going to have a fantastic show today because I've kind of changed some things up, and it's just going to go well. I already know that. So let's get into the plan for today. We're going to talk about real estate nightmares. I think that'll be a lot of fun. It'll probably take a lot of time, but I think that'll be fun. Then we'll talk about interest rates. We'll talk about luxury homes for sale in Memphis, Tennessee. And then we have two articles. We have one on a mega mansion in California. And I don't remember the next story to that. Oh, the best cities in the United States to downsize in. So, I mean, look at how action-packed today is going to be. So for those of you who don't know me, because, I have at least 10 subscribers, my name is John Schenk, and I am a real estate agent in St. Louis, Missouri. I founded Deerwood Realty 6 or 7 years ago because I wanted to help buyers and sellers. I thought that was a good idea, and I didn't want to be part of the franchise brokerages and all that nonsense. I don't want to go to Monday sales meetings or Tuesday sales meetings. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want people to tell me that the market's great when I'm going out there and the market's not great. And I just don't need it. I don't need the tech, the leads of a brokerage. I'm good enough. I can do that on my own. So I started Deerwood Realty. I have one other agent. Her name is Jan. And together we go through the real estate world together. So what do we have today? Did anything happen yesterday in my business that I thought was interesting? Well, I did want to talk a little bit about kind of the sales process and, some things that make me nervous. And one of those things is whenever you make an offer on a house, okay, normally there's a date to close. Okay. Now, a lot of people will ask their agent, "Hey, can I buy a house and sell my house on the same day?" Like, I always think that's a terrible idea, because for you to buy your house, your new house, the seller has to be able to sell it on that day. And then for you to be able to sell your house, a buyer has to buy it on that day. So instead of just having two people in a transaction or two parties, you have four parties in a transaction. And if you've done real estate for any amount of time, you know that it's a miracle if you can get something closed. All the time. There's always something that happens. Every real estate transaction has something weird that pops up in the middle of the transaction that screws things up. And so when buyers ask me, hey, or when buyers or sellers ask me, "Hey, can we sell one house and buy another?" I always caution them. And I also like to hear from, like, if I'm representing the buyers, I like to hear from the listing agent to know, like, "Hey, are you guys planning on buying something else today?" Because if you are, it just puts more stress on the transaction. It's something that I don't like to do. I wouldn't do, and I wouldn't advise. Now, some agents, some grizzled veterans will say, "Hey, it doesn't matter. I'll do it. I've done it 100 times before, and I'll do it again." I'm just saying, for the level of stress, I don't like to do it on the same day. I just don't. That's me. That's my opinion. That's why you're here. You want to hear someone's opinion about real estate matters, and so that's what you're getting. Now, when you make an offer on a property, there's the closing date. And so that day is when everything gets transferred over to the new buyer. And I am loath to change the closing date. So many buyers are like, "Hey, can we move the closing date up?" sellers typically don't care. It's kind of strange. But I've gotten into a situation this week where the sellers would just like to move. I mean, they don't feel any need to keep the house any longer than necessary. And my buyer has really wanted to move up for a long time. And so I did it yesterday. Here's what it involves. One, the title company has to know that you're planning on moving the closing date. Two, you need an amendment to the agreement signed by all parties. And three, the lender needs to be on board. Can you imagine being a lender and thinking that you have, 30 days when it turns out you only have 21? That's the situation my lender's in. But I asked the lender first. I said, hey, buyer wants to close early. Can we do that? And lender said, well, let me get the appraisal and then we'll get back to you. And so sure enough, I got an email last night. Like, hey, we can close early. Go ahead and set it up. So I'm pretty excited for my buyer. We were in a bit of a jam. Her lease ran out like 2 days before the original occupancy date of the house. That was going to be dicey. So now I don't have to worry about that. And she doesn't have to worry about that. Or they don't have to worry about that. I don't know. I don't want to give you too much information. I want you to figure out what house it is. There's so many. But anyway, just keep that in mind. Don't take it for granted that like you can always move a closing date. It's not as easy as you'd think. You have to get so many more people involved, and just be careful. Now, this has been a weird week for me. I've been working with some people, onboarding some people, and I haven't gotten a podcast out in forever. Today's going to be the day that I do that. I've decided I've got to get one out. It's been like 2 weeks, and my people that listen on podcasts are going to be just depressed. We can't have that. So I've got to put one together. And other than that, not a lot of showings today. I think that I know I have some showings tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Weekend's looking weird. I do believe weather always plays a part in showings and stuff, because like this weekend's going to be like rainy and nasty all weekend long. So that's what I know. That's what I know. What do you know? You should put it in the chat. We should talk about it. I mean, I have a format. I have a list of things that I'm going to do today, but I'd love to go over whatever you've got going on. Let me know what you think about stuff. I mean, maybe your issues in the real estate market, could be solved if you just watched the program. If you just chatted and asked a question, I would probably answer it. I mean, I don't have that many people chatting right now. In fact, no one. So anyway, is it possible to have the best real estate live stream on the planet and yet still not have anyone want to watch it? Yes, it's quite possible. So anyway, that's where we are. I'm going to jump into the show now. I feel like that's the best place to go next. And there's certain real estate websites that are kind of more real estate agent specific. This particular one, The Close, is definitely that's kind of where they spend their time. And so I just I saw an article on there. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought we could read through it. It's nightmare clients. And so who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to commiserate with those agents? So it says, every real estate agent knows that spooky monster stories aren't true. They know that the real monsters come out on Sunday mornings, not in the dead of night. Oh, and they don't drag chains and moan about the pain of being undead. They sit in the back seat and moan about how high your commission is. That's why we asked some of our friends at Compass and a few other brokerages to give us some spooky tales to tell around the office campfire. So grab some marshmallows, a flashlight, and get ready to hear some actual real estate nightmares. Okay, so the energy vampires. Last year, I was excited to get a listing where I felt the seller was very collaborative. They seemed very positive up front and willing to run with the ideas that I suggested. All that deteriorated quite quickly, and I came to find out that my client was a wolf in sheep's clothing. At first, they presented themselves as a certain way, And once we signed on the dotted line and got into the process, they did a complete 180 personality rise. They did not take my suggestions. They were hypercritical and, generally speaking, just had a horrible negative energy. Nothing I could do could please them. Any negative feedback about the property or the price was my fault and had nothing to do with the challenges that inherently existed with selling their home at their price point. They micromanaged everything from the marketing to the showings to the music that I played. Finally, I had had enough and decided to fire them. The process went on for several months because, as most of us do, I wanted to save the listing, make the sale, and didn't want to disappoint. Now, this is very, very interesting. Let's see what the listing is here, or the lesson learned. It says, the biggest lesson I learned after that was that I had given all of my energy to these clients, trying to please their unrealistic expectations, and in turn it was negatively affecting the rest of the book of my business because I did not have enough energy or focus to give to my other clients. I called this couple I fired my energy vampires. The biggest lesson I learned was never have those types of people in your life, let alone your business. Stand your ground, lay out your boundaries and stick to them, and most importantly, learn how to say no. After my experience with them, I literally suffered the real estate version of PTSD. Well, this is fascinating to me because of a few things. Number one, my business is not huge. My book of business is not huge. If someone calls me to list their home, if someone calls me and they want me to work as a buyer's agent, I like to get to know them. I like to get to know them because I don't want a wolf in sheep's clothing. I agree that negative clients will suck all the energy away from you, but I typically try to work with people that aren't miserable. I mean, that's what I would say. Now, one of the more interesting things that says, any negative feedback about the property or the price was my fault and had nothing to do with the challenges that inherently existed with selling their home at their price point. So to me, it sounds like the guy took a listing that was a little bit above market asking. Sounds like the agent took the people said, hey, we want to list it for this. And it's like maybe $20,000 over asking. And you're like, I don't think we're going to sell it for that. It's probably not a good idea. And then when it didn't sell, then it got really depressing because people that own a home have pride in that home for the most part. They also probably think highly of themselves. So if they bought a house, it's obviously the best house on the market at that price point because they bought it. It's a very, very weird psychological thing. Weird in the sense of how it plays out. So, I don't know about this. I typically do what I can to help my sellers. You know, if I have to go over there at night, every night, and make sure that the doors are locked and the lights are off, floor's clean, I do it. Now, if the house is 2 hours away, I don't do that, and that's just the way it is. But that's kind of interesting. Now, one of the things that I read from this is that the guy fired the people, the sellers. Well, you know, who wins there? You've got all your money in the marketing and the time. You're not getting that back. And to me, it doesn't seem like it. It's not enough. You've already lost. So, okay. All right. The HGTV-esque lowballer. What's this about? I had a client that was adamant about submitting an offer 40% below ask to see what happens. And when the seller denied the counter offer or denied the offer without a counter, the client suggested it was likely because I didn't drive a Mercedes or BMW to set the right tone in presenting the offer a la HGTV-esque. You know, that's interesting. I have submitted my share of low ball offers, quote unquote. But I've never been blamed for the fact that the seller didn't want to take the offer. Next one. You're my personal chauffeur, right? I had a client who lived close to the area she was shopping, and so I often picked her up, then dropped her off after our tours. It became apparent that she had an unrealistic expectations as she kept passing up solid options in hopes of something that didn't just exist in her price range. After almost a year of this and constantly telling myself to chill out, it'll come together, it finally came to a head when I had two tours set up for the day. The first one for this client and the second one for a different client in the opposite direction. She was furious that I wouldn't pick her up and drop her off. When I asked her why she couldn't drive her own car, she said she didn't want to have to search for parking when she got back. Long story short, she fired me. Now, I live in the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri. We've established that. I can count on my hands the number of times I've had buyers in my car. Why? Well, we're all busy people, and it never made any sense to meet up somewhere and then just go see a house. Now, I will put when we're touring neighborhoods, like say I think there's a neighborhood that makes a lot of sense for a buyer, and they just refuse to like go see it themselves. I will get them in the car. I will tell them to come with me, and we will go see it. I've done that a few times, but other than that, I'm just never been a big fan of driving people around in my car. Not for the chauffeur reason. It's just like I'm working when I'm driving on tours, and I'm trying to get, how do I explain it? I got to know if the doors are going to be open. I've got to deal with other agents that might be at the property. I have to be on time. There's a lot of things that I'm thinking of that the buyer doesn't have to think about. They have to think about maybe, what's the colors on the walls? Do I really see myself living here? And also, I found that like if it's a couple, they kind of like to talk amongst themselves between houses just to like, and not with me around, which I'm totally good with. So I thought that was interesting. What I learned from this experience was to be mindful of how I give my time. I now pay attention to clues, and if I sense that buyers aren't consciously participating in the process, I put them on the back burner while I focus on those who are really ready. Well, I think that's important. I think that's reasonable, and I think that's totally right. I have buyers that kind of come and go, and I'm totally okay with that. Ooh, I was checking on something. I don't mind if you come and go. Like if we go to look at a house that's perfect for you, like that to me is like the perfect pitch. And if you hit it out of the park, that is writing an offer, we're never going to have a problem. If there's a house that comes in and it's not a perfect house and you don't want to write an offer, I have no problem with that. But if you're not actively trying to buy a house, what am I doing? Am I some sort of taxi service? No. So let's continue. Can you help me find a unicorn, please? When I first started out as an agent, even though I was in luxury estates, I took any and every client I could gain experience and knowledge. One client reached out to me on the Next Door app. She was looking for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom rental for under $1,800 a month. Where I'm located, that price is unheard of and usually not listed on the MLS. I searched endlessly for her. She had a leg injury, so I picked her up, drove her to about 7 places where I would have to drop her off in front of the apartment park and then go meet her. Each place she saw, she would complain to the other agent about what she didn't like. At one viewing, she made an agent count with his feet how big the main bedroom was to see if she could fit her bed and nightstands in. There was one particular unit she loved that was $600 over what she could pay. She wanted me to give her offer, and when the agent cordially denied it, she was shocked. Following that 5-hour day, she started sending me listings she found on Zillow and Craigslist. She would call, text, and email me all day, every day. I told her if it's not listed on the MLS, she needs to contact the landlord directly. Since they aren't working with agents, she finally found one on her own. What I learned from that experience is to set boundaries with clients on business hours. The less money they have to put in a home or rental, the more challenging the client will be. I now strictly work with buyers and sellers in the market that I choose. I never reject clients, but I definitely learned the hard way. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't do rentals. The pay for rentals in St. Louis is crap, and it's not worth my time. And you say, well, what if the person someday needs to buy a house and you'll be right there for them? It's like, if they're really my good friend, okay, I'm okay with that. But even then, they're probably not. because I don't have that many good friends. So, and they're probably not renting. So a lot of agents, you know, they'll do all kinds of stuff for you. You need your kitchen cabinets washed, they'll do it. I'm not that person. So, and people will take advantage of you if you let them, no matter what. Too many spirits here, it says. I sold my client's home for above her dream price in 1 week. She was upset that I sold it so quickly. But the next home she wanted to buy, she called me telling me, I absolutely have to have this home. It's my dream home. We got an accepted offer in a 9-offer bidding war. 10 minutes after we accepted the offer, she said she didn't want the home anymore. Then I found her another dream home, and she must have, and her family told me there's too many busy spirits in the home, so we had to move on. I learned that you need to screen your clients with more detail so you're prepared for abnormal behavior. I recently went through a situation where I had a buyer that's like, I must have this house. Well, when you tell an agent that you must have a house, that means we're bidding to win. Like, seriously. I mean, we're bringing all the weapons. So, yeah. And then for a while there was every house was, this has to be the one. And I'm like, are you just using hyperbole here? Like, what are we doing? This doesn't seem right. So anyway, that was that deal. It worked out. You just have to me, you just have to talk to your sellers or you talk to your buyers. And if you're not clear on something, bring it up, ask what's going on, and move on. It's weird how afraid people get, agents get, when having tough conversations with their clients. There's no point. I mean, if they're going to fire you, they're going to fire you. Doesn't matter. You need to have the conversations that allow you to, understand what it is they're looking for and what it is you need to do given particular houses. I mean, some people, they don't ever need a house, so they never ever want to bid more than everybody else. It just depends. So anyway, let's continue. A narrow escape. A few summers ago, I went on a listing appointment without Googling my potential seller first. When I arrived, I found the house was horrible. A horrible 3-story home painted an awful shade of salmon and reeked of cigarette smoke, with an equally creepy owner who offered me drinks and insisted that I give myself a tour of his home while he sat at his home bar. After over an hour of trying to make a polite exit, I finally left. When I got home, a quick internet search informed me that this man was wanted in another country for molesting over 70 female students. I relayed this creepy story to a colleague of mine, and a couple of days later, she called me and said, turn on the news. As it turns out, that morning, the U.S. Marshal showed up to the man's house to extradite him back to the country where he is wanted. Instead of being arrested, the man shot and killed himself. A lesson learned from this experience, I learned to follow my gut, and if something doesn't feel right, I do not have to be polite. Well, I agree with that. Like, we as human beings, we make the assumption that everyone we come into contact with is going to be like normal and like not a killer, not a serial killer. But, I think that's what the serial killer wants you to believe. So, yeah. Would I Google someone's name and address before they ask me to go look at their house? No, probably not. I would check the address because I'd be kind of interested in what I'm getting into. Because a lot of times I'll have sellers call me and they try to sell me the house, like in a weird way. Like, my house is the biggest house on the block. My house has got beautiful drapery. My house has got shag carpeting. The kitchen is from 1980. And I definitely think it's the best house in the neighborhood. And it's like, I haven't even been there. I have no idea. So anyway, that's fascinating. That is a terrible story. I feel bad. I do feel bad for this woman. I say woman because it says woman here, but the tenant from hell. At least a modest home to a man separated from his wife. He apparently was living in a fairly nice home, and this was a multiple step down. After moving in, he began complaining. The cleaning job was not good enough. As it turns out, his wife owned a cleaning company. Then his kids didn't want to stay at the home because of bugs. Multiple trips from the exterminator found no bugs. About 45 days into the lease, he wanted out of the lease because he was reconciling with his wife. We quoted them the termination fee outlined in the lease, and he refused to pay that to terminate the lease. That began the daily calls with maintenance items, contractors going out to a no-show, being refused in, complaints they did not show up, and threats. He then did not make a rent payment for December, and about 3 months into the lease, it takes about 45 days to evict. We had a hearing on January 8th. That's good. Whenever somebody doesn't pay rent, you immediately file for eviction. You do not listen to any BS. Just go file. On or about January 2nd or 3rd, we learned from a neighbor that water was flowing out of the garage. The tenant had moved 90% of his stuff out, left the home vacant during a hard freeze, and had even been back to the house while the pipes were leaking without turning the water off or contacting us. There was $27,000 worth of damage. We learned why his wife was divorcing him. That's funny. That's funny. Seriously, that was a terrible situation. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, make light of it. Ugh. I'm so glad I'm not renting out a house. Everyone says, oh, you make all this money leasing out your house and all this stuff. And it's like, if you only knew the stuff that these poor people have to deal with as landlords and tenants. I mean, we even talk about it on my podcast from time to time. Just terrible tenants and terrible landlords. Ugh. Next one, drinking and complaining don't mix. By far the worst client I ever had was a doctor and his wife. These two said they wanted to sell their home and retire in Florida. They couldn't agree on what price to start at. That was the first sign. After signing papers and getting professional photos taken, the wife called me to cancel the listing, as the photos don't represent her property accurately. The fact I got the house in Newsday promoting the property in their largest financial undertaking was unimpressive to them. After 4 months and no offers, I suggested lowering. One said yes, the other said no. We did get an offer, but the wife had a drinking problem, and after 2 p.m. in the afternoon, she was unapproachable. She called me derogatory names and said they don't want to pay anything to my agency or me. Soon they withdrew the listing after speaking with my manager to complain about my work. Then the piece de resistance. The manager heard from her. This time the owner screamed at her. Why was there a clause in the contract for 6 months after withdrawing it? The manager explained this was a normal part of the contract. The agency was subject to commission if there was an accepted offer after the contract ended, if it was with a customer we showed it to and who previously made an offer. We have that in ours in St. Louis Association of Realtors, the board contracts we use. The owner then called the prospective buyer we had presented to them, and they first declined. The buyer was offered the home for less, but they had to wait 6 months until our clause in the contract expired, so we would not receive a commission. The buyer called her agent, who was also with my agency, and chaos ensued. My manager never called the couple back as she felt it wouldn't gain any positive results. The breach of contract was blatant, and 2 years later, 2 different agencies later, they now list their home well below what the offer price was and still have no buyers in contract. Karma. Interesting. This is very interesting. So this agent is saying that her manager should have done something in theory. My manager never called the couple back as she felt it wouldn't gain any positive results. I have been in that position. Like, what am I supposed to, like, how am I going to, in fact, one time I had an appraiser go to a house unannounced. Okay. And we were representing the buyers and we would really like the house to appraise. Was it a breach of ethics for him I wouldn't, was it a breach of ethics? Sure. It was a breach of ethics. Was it the right thing to do? No. But if I call and if I read him the riot act, okay, you think that property is going to come in at the appraisal number? You say, well, John, that's not right. You should always get an impartial appraiser and everything's always done on the up and up and everything. No, people are people. They're weird. They do strange things. So no, I don't believe that at all. And so I didn't see any benefit in it. So there was no way I was going to sit there and yell at the guy or girl. It doesn't matter to me who's an appraiser. 40 questions. This guy gets in my car with a spreadsheet with 40 questions to ask about each property we're going to see. All the questions are already on the MLS listings I gave them. When we arrive at one house, his wife says she does not like the neighborhood as we were walking up to the house. I told him we could move on to the next property, and he starts asking me his 40 questions. I told him to just scratch it off the list, but he insists. I took them back to their home and fired them. By the way, he spilled his coffee in my car, and he didn't even apologize. Wow. That's pretty hardcore. I took them back to their home and fired them. I don't mind if people ask me questions. I've often given people documents that have information on it that they've asked questions about, and I know they didn't read it because they asked me the same questions. I mean, that's just kind of part of it. Now, would I have fired these people? I don't know. Again, I don't have people in my car, and would I ever walk out of a listing? Yes. About maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a house that was priced way too low for the marketplace, and it caused a feeding frenzy at the listing. Hundreds of people showed up. During my time alone, when I went there were probably like 14 different buyers there, 14 different groups. Couldn't even get into the house. It was so busy. And it wasn't an open house. It was just literally just a regular day. And my buyers and I stood outside and said, we're not doing this. This is stupid. It's stupid. We're not doing it. So yeah, don't be afraid to walk on a house. And then I don't want to talk about things. If we're not going to buy the house, it's over. Like if there's no chance of us buying the house, the wife in this case said, we're not interested. So you're not interested. It's over. So yeah, I agree. Asking questions. The 40 questions is a weird thing. Sometimes questions answer themselves when you walk through the house. Sometimes it causes more questions. It's just hard to know. I promise not to screw you over this time, it says, an attorney who thought he knew it all used me to look all over downtown for I don't know what that even is. Then one weekend he went looking without me on the Upper West Side, my home turf no less. He tells me he's found something he likes in a Central Park West co-op just a few blocks from my office and has the notion that he will strike a better deal if he goes into negotiate without a broker. I'm shaking my head because I'm not sure that building will allow whatever. And we have been over his financials, and I'm familiar with the building in question, which is pretty conservative financially, and I have doubts about whether they would approve him based on the way his other housing debt and business debt were structured. I wished him good luck. Several months later, we ran into one another, and I learned that the board rejected his application. He asked if I wanted to help him again. I thanked him for the opportunity, but politely declined. I agree. There's no law that says, and I think that's one of the more fascinating things about our industries. There's no law that says I have to work with someone. Like if you're an ass to me, I don't want to work with you. If you're going to go behind my back, I don't want to work with you. And if, like let's say I have a friend that goes and decides to buy a house without me. If they go and buy a house without me and without an agent, I'm sure as hell not going to get mad about it because that was their choice. If they know I'm an agent and we're good friends and you went and found another agent to buy a house and not use me, we're no longer friends. Like that is a shot across the bow. So in this case, this guy, they're not even friends. He goes to negotiate this deal. It doesn't work out. There's no harm in that. But if you found somebody that seems to want to kind of rip you off up front, then you should probably just go ahead and move on. So I agree with this way 100%. Do you take pennies? I met with a young couple who was interested in purchasing a home. The seller was willing to finance with a $10,000 down payment. Young man called me. I gave him the terms, down payment, interest rate, monthly payment, the price of $150,000. He said he would meet me there to see the home. So I meet him there, and they loved the house. The young someone said, well, we'll take it. And I said, great. Since it is in the middle of the month, we will prorate your first payment. She said, oh, no, we have the $10,000. I said, that's good. Your first payment will be due a month after the close of escrow. Again, she looked at me weird and said, payment? I said, yes, to pay off the remaining $140,000. She said, you told us the price was $10,000. I said, that is the down payment. She then got furious and told her husband I was trying to rip them off. She left the house, slamming the front door on her way out, yelling at him, I will be waiting in the car. I asked the guy how she could have thought the 3-bedroom home, 2-bath house on a quarter acre would be $10,000. He apologized and said he might have explained it to her wrong. I said, let me know if you find a house for $10,000 and I will offer them $12,000. LOL. He then left. Interesting. Here's what I get. Oftentimes, a buyer will come to me and they will say, I'm looking for a home for X price, and the price is ridiculously low. And I say, okay. And then what we normally do is we go look at houses and then like they see that there's just nothing out there for the price that they're willing to pay, and they either decide to continue and raise their price point or go away, which I'm fine with as well. One of the funniest things to me is that people, like, someone will call me and they'll say, I want a foreclosure because they're cheaper. And then you go, okay. And then you go look at a foreclosure, and then by the time you bought the foreclosure, fixed it up, you'd still be like in negative equity. Like, you'd have more in the house than what the market would bring for any house around that house. So why? Why do that? Doesn't make any sense to me. So in this case, I don't know. It's just strange to me. I know that when I was looking at a house, when I was a first time buyer myself, I was like, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a house. Okay. And then you go and you look at what not a lot of money is going to get you. And you're like, I don't want to live like this. This is bad. And there's this weird thought that's like, if people didn't spend this much money, then we'd have nicer houses. It's very strange. I get where these people were coming from. They're like, just because something's $100,000 doesn't mean I have to pay it. But you kind of do. Okay. Next one. Nice place, but is it zombie proof? She was looking to buy a house with a basement, so I put together a list of homes with a basement, sent it to her, and she agreed to look at them. While showing her the homes, I noticed that she paid more attention to the basement than any other part of the house. And I asked her what the basement will be used for, and she replied, absolutely floored me. And her reply absolutely floored me. She said, I want to turn the basement into a shelter in case zombies attacked. I thought she was kidding, but no, she was absolutely serious. Over the next few weeks, every discussion I had with her quickly turned into a zombie-focused conversation. She was asking me research information about zombies and various topics related to housing and zombies. I got to a point where it just got weird, and she got weird, so I had to end it, and I walked away. But this home buyer seriously made me rethink my choice of a career. Well, if that's the only person that's ever made you rethink your choice of a career as a real estate agent, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, daily, I wonder, what the hell am I doing? Why did I think this was a good idea? That's a joke. Only partially. Yeah. So like, I don't know, they call it, like, do they call it a safe room, an emergency room or something? I was in a house that was a split level, and it was a big steel room, like worth more than the house in the garage. That was like, you know, if there was a fire or if there was a tornado, or they had this big room, all steel. Fascinating. And the weird thing is, on the listing, they didn't even mention it. Like, I would have thought with all the money put into it, it would be like a positive to the house, a selling point. The balcony incident, my client's husband went to throw the listing agent's business partner off my client's husband threatened to throw the listing agent business partner off the 9th floor balcony of a condo in the Wilshire corridor because he was speaking rudely to his wife. The agent's business partner removed himself from the situation, as was never heard of from again. My client is now having to take the seller to small claims court because they sent us a receipt saying that the moldy kitchen countertop was replaced, but the handyman admitted it was not replaced, only refurbished. Sketchy people all around. I don't understand that one. All right, well, that was that. I don't know. I mean, you deal with people all the time in real estate, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it didn't. People are weird. This doesn't surprise me. So, anyway, moving on. Interest rates. This is on DeerwoodRealtySTL.com. I just hyped my own webpage, my own website. I'm not ashamed. Oh gosh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. So we got a 30-year fix coming in at 5.30%. A change of 2 basis points went higher. That's fine. I mean, if we can just stay a little bit more like kind of in the same range, we're going to be at 5.3%, you know, between 5.2 and 5.4%. All right. Just don't jump like you did between January and March. That was bad. Moving on. Ever been to Memphis? I've been to Memphis. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you about this was I thought was interesting. There's no square footage in any of these listings. Let's look at the first house. Price cut, even $225,000 price cut. $3,250,000. Single family home, 76 days on the market, built in 1998. 5 bedrooms, 6.5 baths. Let's look at the property details. See if it tells us. Okay, it does. It tells us the sum of the square footage. It says the perfectly executed Norman French home is iconic in its authentic and ultra sophisticated styling. Designed by Charles Shipp and artfully constructed by Burns Ostner, boasting over 11,000 square feet of perfection. The lovely entry gate and galleries plus banquet-sized living and dining rooms with 11 and 12-foot ceilings are an entertainer's delight. Finest finishes in millwork, windows, doors, etc. 5-car garage, private motor courts and grounds with lovely gardens by Ben Page Nashville. Pretty sumptuous, or truly sumptuous. Let's look at the property history. It's been listed since February. I'm okay with that. I mean, it happens. 25 pictures like that. We don't need 1,000 pictures. We just need to kind of know what we're getting into. So beautiful first picture, curb appeal, right height, everything. Wonderful, wonderful. And there we go. Now we're in the house. I'd have preferred to be taking a picture from there going that way, but whatever. What is this about here? See that little stick there? Like what is that? I don't know. And then what is this? Is this a bar? This is the kitchen. We know that. Oh. Yeah. It's very interesting, this house. I don't know what to make of this. Like those cabinets, you can buy those today, but the wood paneling, like we're not doing a lot of wood paneling like that. Now this house, this here is cool, but then like the furniture is dicey. Nice theater room. I don't know. I just don't know. There's a nice, I think that's a grill. Five-car garage. There you go. I mean, that's real. I think, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that one. Let's look at this one. 2.925 million. 6 bedrooms, 7.5 baths on a 3/4 acre lot. Built in 2007. 30 days on the market. Let's look at the details. This inspired European home, thoughtfully designed by Doug Enoch, meticulously built by Hank Akers, portrays the magnificent presence of a grand historic estate. A large square turreted entry plus herringbone pattern brick outside, stone flooring, gorgeous natural millwork and beaming, massive cut limestone fireplaces inside set the authentic tone. Banquet size living room and dining room, kitchen, breakfast, hearth room, open to grilling, porch, and ultra private grounds. MBR suite, which is a master bedroom suite, and optional 2-bedroom down, a cloister masterpiece. Okay. What we got on the property history? Listed in March, a month ago. 25 pictures. I like Memphis's listing pictures. I mean, we don't get these ridiculous, and this is different. Okay. I haven't seen that very often. I like the fact that it's a little different. Bold in the design, they say. Almost looks like they have shiplap on the wall right here. Not really a big shiplap guy. It's an interesting kitchen. As I've gotten older, I don't like the fireplace above the. Same guy, by the way, is listing this house, is listing the first house. So good for him. He's got 2 of the top listings in Memphis. That's nice. That's a nice bathroom. You're not going to get me to say anything negative about that. This picture's odd. I mean, it's from the, I know this is from the front door because of the shiplap. We talked about it. Love the pergola outdoor space. And there's the pool. Love the pool. Nice listing. Well done. This doesn't make any sense to me. $2.6 million for 13 acres. It's got to be the 13 acres. That's the draw. Let's look at this maybe. No, this is 3 bedrooms, 3 baths on 11 acres. This is 4 bedrooms, 5 baths on an acre. Let's look at that real quick. 25 pictures. Judy McClellan's got this on Cry-Likey Realtors. Built in 2009, 37 days on the market. This looks like it's overgrown. Also, strange first picture. Not exactly giving me what I need to know. Property history. They listed it in 2021 and it didn't list. It didn't sell. That was last year. The details: an English manor home designed by Naval Walker. I don't know who that is. Located in one of East Memphis's hotbeds of estate homes, the posh interior and exceptional exterior appointments set the standard in design, quality, and rich architectural details. Amazing spaces include the 22 by 21 grand foyer with cantilevered staircase, great room with 32-foot vaulted ceiling and exposed beams, chef's Viking kitchen, 26 by 14 master chef with dual baths, 27 by 23 entertainment suite, and outdoor spaces including cooking porch, pool, spa, and living room with fireplace and kitchenette. I read that with all kinds of wild stuff for abbreviations. I say fur. I should have said for. I apologize. Look at that. Do they even tell us how many square feet it is anywhere? We have no idea. That's so weird. Nice kitchen, nice size. I don't know. We saw that picture of the front, like the first picture, and it didn't help me to understand, you know. I mean, that's a theater room. I get it. There's the pool. Have we seen a picture of the front of the house? There's the pool house. It's cool, right? This one here, I don't really understand. I mean, why did we never see a picture of the front of the house? I'm going to go through it just because I hope you're not getting a seizure or anything from me going through this, but okay, here's the front. I guess because the trees are kind of covering it, wasn't memorable, or that you didn't start with the right picture. I think this was the picture to start with, but that's me, and their agent can do whatever they'd like. It's a free country. So let's go to our article. Inside the $87 million Hilltop Palace for sale in Beverly Hills. I was kind of interested in this one. I thought that you might be interested. $87 million is a lot of money. This was on CNBC. I suspect that whoever's listing this property got this in the paper. Perched approximately 200 meters above Beverly Hills, California, is a European-flavored residence that recently hit the market for $87 million. Past its gate, a 700-foot private drive hugs the mountainside as it leads up a steep incline to reveal a dramatic 7.8-acre estate. For a person who likes this style, there's nothing like it. That's why we feel bullish on the price. Listing agent Aaron Kerman of the Aaron Kermer Group told CNBC. There you go. It's highly unlikely that CNBC was looking around at houses and was like, hey, let's do an article on this one. The palatial main residence reigns over 90210 from an impressive hilltop that offers 360-degree views. So there it is. That is pretty cool looking. I'll give them that. According to the listing, the 8-bedroom, 14-bath residence unfolds over 3 floors and 21,800 square feet. The home's hefty asking price comes to about $3,990 per square foot, which is more than double the $1,801 average price per square foot achieved in the neighborhood in the fourth quarter of 2021, according to the Eilman report. But it's a relative bargain compared with a record-setting sale from October when venture capitalist Mark Anderson reportedly paid $177 million for a 11,810 square foot Malibu home, bringing the price per square foot to a staggering $14,987. Now, a square foot is like this. This $14,000. Another one of those mega deals was the distress sale of 944, I don't even know way, Arrow Way, 105,000 square foot mega mansion, 105,000 square feet, which was offered at $295 million before selling at auction last month for $141 million. Kerman was a co-listing agent on the transaction that required bankruptcy court approval. That is a big house, 105,000 square foot. That's big. Los Angeles has seen 10 single-family home deals close for more than $50 million in the last 6 months, including 3 homes that sold for over $100 million, according to the multiple listing service and deed transfer records. There's no other market that has those numbers. New York doesn't. Miami doesn't. He said he hasn't seen any impact from rising mortgage rates, inflation, or the war in Ukraine. Any of those could have spooked buyers, but they haven't. Also, these people that are in this situation, I mean, they're not using mortgages most likely. And they really don't care about inflation if they want to buy a house of their quote-unquote dreams. He also pointed to low inventory to suggest right now it's a seller's market on the ultra-high end. According to Kerman, the Los Angeles MLS currently shows 27 single-family homes priced over $50 million. That's tight inventory. We usually see 50 or more. This is supported by analysis from Miller Samuel Real Estate Appraisers and consultants in the fourth quarter Eilman report. Listing inventory fell to the lowest level on record at the largest rate on record for all single-family homes and condos in Los Angeles, it said. You might recognize the mansion, which is located on Davies Drive and has been featured in music videos, commercials, and by GQ in 2016 when the magazine threw a Grammys after party at the residence celebrating musician The Weeknd's birthday and published photos from the home showing Taylor Swift, DJ Khaled, Post Malone, Justin Bieber, and an entourage of A-list celebs partying inside and out. Interesting. Does that mean that Taylor Swift, DJ Khaled, and Post Malone and Justin Bieber are not A-list celebs? Anyway, here's a closer look at what the $87 million could buy in Beverly Hills. There's the library. That's cool. The home's library unfolds over 2 levels connected by a spiral staircase. Overhead is a massive stained glass light fixture framed by an ornately carved wood ceiling. Now, let's be honest. The person that buys this house isn't going to use the library. No one uses libraries anymore. Very few people even have books. Like, they're not readers. I'm just saying. I mean, the library idea made a whole lot of sense in 1920. But now, as a room, it's like, really? I mean, a home office would be much better than a library. I'm just saying. Double pocket doors made with antique Venetian stained glass windows disappear into the walls to reveal a dining hall that seats 12. Under a gold leaf painted dome ceiling and chandelier, the room is dripping in gold accents and vibrant walls upholstered in a deep red silk. The billiards room is also covered in silk. This time, the scarlet fabric is framed by dark stained wood and accented by hand painted scenes just above the floor. I mean, it's nice, right? It's nice. It's not too gaudy. The living room features a wood mirrored bar and more walls upholstered in fabric. I don't even know if I like fabric upholstered walls. I mean, that's like a padded cell almost. The giant owner's suite includes a seating area, a king-size bed, and a dumbwaiter that can whisk breakfast up from the kitchen. The chef's kitchen also includes wood-carved cabinets, stone floors, and steel appliances. Off the kitchen is a breakfast room with floor-to-ceiling hand-painted murals depicting colorful birds and foliage on every wall. There's the theater room. On the home's lowest level is the red velvet cinema room. According to Kerman, According to Kerman, the facade of an 18th century saloon was shipped from England and reimagined as the entrance to the home's wine cellar. Well, that's a pretty cool idea. The massive ballroom also has stained glass light fixture built in the ceiling and French doors that lead to the pool. The estate's luxurious backyard has a 2-story pool house. That's pretty cool too. I mean, I've seen a pool house, but not a 2-story pool house. The ornate in-ground pool is surrounded by manicured shrubs and dolphin-shaped fountains. Well, everyone needs a dolphin-shaped fountain. Step away from the swimming pool area is a koi pond that features 2 red painted bridges leading to a small rock island at its center. Property also includes a tennis court, putting green, oversized chess set. I personally like the sport court. So you could have a basketball court transition to a volleyball court, which transitions to a tennis court. That's just me. But anyway, if the home sells for its asking price, the real estate taxes would be a total of $1,087,500 per year, or more than $90,000 a month. Well, that would be fun. That'd be fun. At one point in time, it used to be that like $90,000 would get you a house in St. Louis, but now it's like dicey. Oh God, we just got hit by a pop-up. All right, one more article to go. Oh no, I got to fix something after I do this. I apologize. The best worst cities for downsizing. I thought that was interesting. I have to stretch. Oh God. I think downsizing is something that I don't know how to say it. I don't think a lot of people do it. I think sometimes people stay in their houses too long and they get like ill, or they can't, they can't move around a lot. And then the house just then they spend the next decade looking at a house that never changes and it's just not a good situation. I'm all for downsizing. How could you save money by moving to a smaller property? The Social Security Resource Center conducted a national study to find the potential savings from downsizing. In some areas, downsizing could be a big money saver. In other places, they found downsizing could actually be more expensive. Researchers analyzed the average house price of a single-family home compared to a condo or co-op in the 50th largest cities in the U.S. Arlington, Texas offers some of the most savings for downsizing. Arlington had a price difference of $160,000 between a single-family home and a condo. Condos in Arlington cost nearly half the price of an average single-family home. Those looking to downsize may also see strong savings in Las Vegas, which ranks second. The price difference between a single-family home and a condo in Las Vegas was $220,000, a difference of 47.41%. So, this idea is you get a condo, you used to have a house, and then you get a condo, and there's a price difference. That's kind of what they're measuring in the article. At the state level, Nevada, a popular retirement destination, had the highest downside savings potential, with a savings of under 50% for those moving to a condo, the study finds. On the other hand, Detroit had the lowest saving potential for downsizers. The difference between a single-family home and a condo is 260%. Philadelphia followed with the difference between a single-family home at $236,000 and a condo of $314,000, a 33% difference. So I thought this was worth looking at. I mean, it's not the longest article, but the idea is, in Arlington, if you the average single price home is $323,000, and then a condo is only $163,000. I mean, that's nice. But when it said like Detroit, the house is $264. That's, I think, really highly dependent on location. There's some very expensive homes in Detroit. We looked at them earlier this week. It's just that, Detroit's pretty huge, and the condos are all going to be located like downtown. So, I don't know. I don't know that you could take this. The other thing is what about like some of these places, like Arlington, Texas? Let's just take that one. Is a condo in Arlington, Texas, have they been like built? Are they new? What is the quality? I mean, if you're living in a condo, is it just a garbage place that you don't want to live? I mean, that kind of matters. That kind of matters. So I'm going to do that and do that. What did we learn today? Well, we got through a tremendous amount of material in an hour. I mean, I am kind of blown away by it. We learned that working in the real estate business with clients can be dicey and not fun. And sometimes you have to fire your clients, which is also not fun. If you have to fire your clients, it's not a good situation. We learned that Memphis has some very nice houses, and they don't post the square footage on the listing, at least on Realtor.com. We learned that there's a big house, $87 million in Beverly Hills, that overlooks the entire area, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And that, a 2-story library may be just kind of not necessary. And then finally, we learned that you could downsize. In some places, if a house is significantly more expensive than a condo, that might be a good move. And in other places, houses are significantly less than a condo, which makes no sense. But if you've ever been to Detroit, I can see that. I can see that because I know where the condos would be that would be expensive, and I know where the houses would be that aren't expensive. So with that, I mean, we did a good job. We had a strong show today. And for that, I just wanted to say thank you. We'll be here tomorrow. What is tomorrow? It's Friday. That'll be fun. And we'll go for dinner. So thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow. If you get a chance and you enjoyed this and it's 10 years from now, would you please hit the subscribe button? I believe I have 10 subscribers now, which is just a lot. Would like to see 100, would like to see 1,000, maybe someday even 1,001. And I can't do that without you. So the 2 accounts that I have, I've already my Deerwood Realty account and my personal account, I've already subscribed. So I got nothing else. So it's got to be on you. Thank you for